Okay, in today's presentation, I'll be discussing about cyber warfare between various countries and also about how Al-Qaeda is operating with help of cyber warfare and some issues like that. Okay, back in early 1990s, people used to think that hackers can cause nuclear war. But as all of you know that this ain't possible, not even now. But still, hackers can play a vital role in the warfare. But how? This is what we are going to discuss in our today's presentation. Actually, I worked with C4I for some time. It's basically C4I stands for Command, Control, Communication, Computer, and Intelligence. These are the four means through which you gather the intelligence. While working there, I got obsessed with how military operates with help of technology. And few things which I will reveal today in my presentation is like most of you people are not aware that how military is taking help of the technology. Okay, basically this quotation by Sun Tzu in his book Art of War. Attaining 100 victories in 100 battles is not the pinnacle of excellence. Subjugating the enemy's army without fighting is true pinnacle of excellence. This basically summarizes the true concept of cyber warfare. Okay, now most of you will think that like hacking, which normally is done is like DOS attacks, the major hackings, defacements of websites, what actually the countries can get benefit out of it. And basically some other techniques which I'll be telling you further ahead. So why is cyber warfare the best strategy? Okay, the first thing is it is highly anonymous. Like if the state-sponsored hacking is done, you cannot differentiate that whether it is done by a state or not. Even if, like, talking in technical terms, they can, your opponent can basically track out that, okay, this is, a DOS attack is coming, okay, this is from country A. But they can totally deny it. They can say that one individual is doing it, so he's a cyber criminal, we cannot do anything about it. So even if it's a state-sponsored hacking, it's anonymous. Then there is also the element of deniability. And the major thing, you can cause huge damages with low expenditure on research and development. Okay, outsourcing and globalization of warfare. No command and control. Like if an individual can know what to do, basically he don't need any sort of like command on him to do, a person telling him what to do. He knows what he has to do. Difficult to identify private or state-sponsored hacking. Suppose if, I'll give you example of cyber warfare of Palestine and Israel. Basically what happened was that when Israel started the cyber warfare, the Palestinian people were also joined by Arab hackers and other hackers of the Muslim nation. So like that, the cyber warfare can be globalized. Okay, basically what are the main targets in cyber attacks? These are military networks, government systems and websites, e-commerce and financial institutes, telecommunication companies, and many others, like some websites with a huge audience, and one can do some propaganda over that. That I'll be telling that how propaganda affected the countries ahead in my presentation. Okay, these are some of the stats taken from the Zone H, that why people hack. Now, mostly the thing which we have to see here is that 10.9% people do it for patriotism and 11.8% are done for political reasons. So you can see that out of 20% of the hacking being done and the cyber warfare, basically it is done for state or a country. Okay, cyber weapons. First, we will talk about the software-based weapons. Weapons like, basically which we normally use, like for DOS attacks, for defacements, and you know all its capability and the availability. They are easily available on the net, so you cannot, you don't have to find them to, like, it's not difficult to get them. For like Trojans, I know people who develop custom-made softwares and worms for specific purpose for like $100 or $200, and they can even like create viruses on demand. Okay, regarding the capability, one experience which we had in Pakistan was that through software-based weapons, that we had a DOS attack from India, and our main bandwidth which we had coming to our country, that was choked for about 2 months. So you can well imagine the damage caused to our industry. All the call centers and all the financial institutes who were dependent on the internet, they stopped working. So uh, such attacks based like software are basically an example of the capability of these weapons. Okay, now coming towards the hardware-based weapons, um, I would like to give example on our recent development. We are working on EMP bombs. It's like electromagnetic pulse bomb. Basically, suppose if I throw it somewhere, or it will start emitting electromagnetic rays, and in a specific radius, all the electronic equipment, including your cars, everything dependent on electricity, will stop working. Like, and the chips of computer or other such electronic circuitry, they will overburn. So you can, and secondly, it can also be, these rays can also be emitted through satellite. If we emit it on a target area above, through a satellite, which should be above 50 to 100 kilometers, then it is gonna cause the damage between, on the radius of 1,000 kilometers. All the electric appliances, anything dependent on electricity will stop functioning. So like through that, even the Air Force, you can totally disable the Air Force of the other country. And one of the second weapons is like HERF guns. These are high energy radio frequency guns. One example which I would like to give here is, suppose there are two ships coming. Suppose a Navy ship is coming from here, and it is so far away that even I cannot see it. And suppose my ship is over here. So what I'll do, I know I can see the ship on my radar. I'll turn my gun, that HERF gun, towards that direction from which the ship is coming. And I'll start emitting those rays, and all the radar system and anything, all the communications will totally disrupt. So, and then, you know, and see, you're totally dependent on this network. So these, when we talk about the hardware-based cyber weapons, then these are very powerful. Also, the satellite interruption, satellite interruption-based weapons are also there. You can take the data which is being communicated on the satellites. Though the encryption is there, but still, I know people who can decrypt it. So it's not impossible. About the cost of manufacturing. Well, basically, few nations, the EMP thing, which I have told you before, it's only done so far in the lab environment. It has not been practically implemented or tested, but I know that most countries have that. Secondly, its cost of manufacturing. If you develop such sort of weapons in your own country, with your own people, then I think they are really cheap. Like maybe between $10,000 or something like that. You can create this sort of thing. But I think if you buy something like that, then it's going to be pretty much expensive. Okay, now I'll discuss some practical issues uh, and the damages caused by warfare between several countries. Like though these are not huge, but still. Okay, the history of it. Basically what happened was that in 28 September 2000, two Israeli teenagers attacked Hezbollah and Hamas websites in Lebanon. Now, those of you who are not aware of these are basically the jihadi websites. They are basically to encourage the people over there who are fighting for the cause of Islam. Then, this was a set. Okay. Now, basically, how as there are not much technical people in Israel, and sorry, Palestine. So how actually they operate? Now, a team of around 100 hackers was formed through, and it was not only Palestine, it was from countries from like Egypt, Pakistan, and few other Arab countries. So what they actually did was that they placed their weapons on and the methods how to target specific websites, and actually the whole methods, like what they have to do to target a specific websites. They spread it on the chat rooms and also on some specific jihadi websites. So around 1,200 volunteers targeted different websites of Israel. Now what actually the damages were caused? Basically, when we talk about the pro-Israeli attacks, then extremist websites were hacked and government websites were hacked. And in pro-Palestinian attacks, Israel official websites, media technology, and financial corporations. As I already told you before, that many countries joined Palestine in this cyber warfare, so that made it a global warfare. Okay, these are some of the famous hackers of Israel. Okay, targets of Israeli hackers: government system, Palestinian National Authority, Hamas, Hezbollah, who is Hamas and Hezbollah again are those jihadi websites. Okay, this is one of the site defaced by Israelis. Okay, tactics and strategy of Israeli hackers. Okay, what they did was their main focus was to do propaganda, like spreading some news which brought them some advantage in politically. But what they did was they registered websites with misspellings. Like Hamas, they registered .org, and when you used to search it on Google, their website showed first. Then in counterattack, what they actually did was Palestinians hacked more than 50 websites. They paralyzed Israel's email system for days many times. This was basically the government email system. They also hacked Israel's e-commerce websites. Now, the reason why Palestine was successful in this cyber warfare was that they actually had extensive targets, which Israeli people didn't have. Now, and also they had more manpower as hackers of all Arab countries combined. These are some of the pro-Palestinian hackers. You can see GeForce Pakistan, Dr. Nuker, Pakistani Hackers Club. These are the three from Pakistan. And Arab hackers, ex-Egypt, Arab Hackzos. These are basically from Egypt, and Al-Muhajirun, I suppose this is from Saudi Arabia. So you can see that all of them were basically, it was a sort of global warfare. Now, what actually the Palestinian targets were? Israeli army, Israel central bank, Bank of Israel, Israel's educational institutes, government system, AT&T, TS Stock Exchange. Okay, now we'll move towards cyber battleground of Iran and USA. Though the Iran is still in the development process, the only things that happens between them is just DOS attacks and simple defacements. Nothing, something which should I mention here is caused. They are basically Persian hackers in are so far in the development process and learning things. Iran has not done his homework on cyber warfare. But one thing is there that if some sort of cyber warfare occurs between Iran and USA, then huge damages will be caused to USA because the Muslim countries, all of them are going to support those Iranian people and the Iranian hackers. And the countries like Pakistan and Egypt have real damages can be caused. Okay, now this is something really interesting. Battleground of China, Cuba, and USA. Okay, now all of you will be surprised to know that Cuba is better than USA in cyber warfare. Now, how is it better than USA? This is now what I'm going to tell you about. Okay, these are some of the description of the bases which Cuba have. They have around 1,100 engineers, computer scientists, technician staff in their bachelor base. It has 3 group of antennas, satellites. Basically what they can do from there is like they can interrupt all the general telecommunication of USA. They can monitor any telephone call. It's because they are at a strategic location, which even some developed country which want to do cannot do it because they have a certain location which is giving them this advantage. Then they also have the capability of voice recognition technology, like they can interrupt the call of a specific voice throughout the US. Now this is something really amazing. Okay, this is one of their another base. It can transmit. There is transmission and reception of radio waves done through this base. It has ability to interfere radio telecommunication in USA, mainly in airports and strategic places. So like they can disrupt the whole communication done at their airports. Now this includes military air force bases too. So you can well imagine the damages caused. Okay, this is one of another base. They are mainly concerned about the research and development of cyber warfare, and their main focus is high radio frequency. What I was telling you earlier, that electromagnetic pulse thing and like that. Okay, this is another of the popular base of Cuba. They are basically working on the weather change technology. It's like, I don't know that we have gamers over here or not, but there's a game, Red Alert 2. In that you have basically a weapon which can change the weather change, which can cause a weather change. So that sort of technology, they say, is being developed by this base, and they are almost successful in that. Then they are also doing some radio interference, and if you just look at that base from somewhere nearby, you'll see 100 really tall antennas over there. Okay, now basically why Cuba has developed into such a strong cyber warfare state. What Western countries are up to, they basically think of like 10 years, 20 years, well, like what they have to do ahead after 10 or 20 years. But like now what Chinese are doing, they have think like what they have to do after 100 years. So they have a lot of mutual understanding with Cuba. They have given them, there is a lot of trade cooperation between them and financial support, also providing them cyber weapons. And basically the main advantage is that Cuba has a strategic location for China. That is the main part why China has supported so much to Cuba. Okay, another major cyber battlefield of India and Pakistan. Okay, what was the history behind it? It started basically in May 1998, and the reason behind was Pokhran 2 nuclear tests. These were the nuclear tests conducted at India, which most of you, I guess, are familiar with. Now, what actually was done, they targeted Bhabha Atomic Research Center, India. And you'll be surprised to know that this was not done by the Pakistanis. These are the two guys, and only they are 17 years old. And this was started by them, and this caused the cyber warfare between Pakistan and India. What happened basically was that some sensitive emails, which I'll read it for you. Okay, this was an email taken from the email servers of BARS. BARS is basically the Bhabha Atomic Research Commission. Okay, this email is of two scientists over there. Is BARS being brought under the Defense Ministry? Okay, here is it. If that happens, there will be a lot of restrictions. I have doubt if the explosion was successful. Now, something like that, this statement that if the explosion was successful, now, this really shook up the whole world. And this email was basically published in our defense journal of states and Pakistan. Okay, that place is full of idiots, including Chidu. Chidu basically is probably referring to Arch Chidambara, that's India's Atomic Energy Research Commission chairman. I know them inside out. I'm sure those morons aren't capable of anything. Must have exploded some RDX and are now claiming to have exploded the bomb for political gains. Biku, this is probably referring to Bikar Sinha. He is head variable complex of India. That's in Calcutta. Biku is jumping about here, and newspapers report some ECC scientists have contributed to the nuclear tests. He asked for special security. The clown has got 2 bodyguards. Security has been tightened at the institute. Now, basically, what most of you must be thinking that this was some fake email generated by the hackers to gain publicity. But basically, that was not the case. They also released few other technical emails of scientists, which were very much true and that disclosed names of internal people. So, when the name of internal people are disclosed, then something like that is, pretty much shocking for India. Hacking Pakistan government websites. So Pakistani hackers also went for the cyber warfare, and like that, this are the. Okay, these are some of the stats of Indian defacements. Like most of them were garment websites and .com websites, and basically the target were the websites which had huge audience. So they basically did propaganda for Kashmir cause. Okay, this is one of the defacement by a Pakistani group. That is the Gujarat garment website. This is another one. This is for the cause of Kashmir and Palestine. Okay, these are some of the top 5 Pakistani attackers. AIC, GeForce Pakistan, Silver Lords, WFT. This is WFT for World Fabulous Defacers. ISOT, I have no idea what it stands for. Okay. These are some of the groups of Pakistani hackers. Basically, G-Force has 4 members, and one of them is from Brazil. And they mostly targets website for freedom of Kashmir and Palestine. Then this PHC, Silver Lords. This is formed by one of the top hackers of Pakistan. His call sign is Dr. Nuker. Then another one, Pakistani Hackers Club. This is one of the most popular groups over there. It's like no one actually know who are the people behind it, but it is one of the most. It is one of the groups which has done most of the defacements. Okay, what was the objectives? They targeted mostly websites of huge domestic audience for Middle East and Palestine and Kashmir. Now, basically what Indians did in return, they paralyzed Pakistan government sites for more than 2 months in 2003. That is one of the official statements of Pakistan, but I believe that was done for more than 8 months. None of the .gov.pk government site was available for viewing. This was done by Yaha series viruses. There was a lot of flood on the main servers which were handling basically these government websites. Now, this damaged about 150 Pakistani websites in 2 days and erased files from a hard disk of more than 300 corporate computers. This was done by the Yaha, and also that DOS attack was done by that Yaha series viruses. Then, as I already told you, that Pakistan's internet got choked for like 2 months. Now, that is something really huge for Pakistan. Okay, now, like what happened this year, that we had a test match series of cricket in India. So Pakistan, in test match you have like 4 days of cricket, and the third day Pakistan winning and India has no chance to win the next day. So on the third day, what Indians actually did, they choked Pakistan's internet backbone for next whole day. They were like, okay, this is a gift to us. We are not good in cricket, but we are good at this. Okay, these are some of the Indian hackers. Rocks of Calcutta, Cobra, they are members of the group Indian Snakes. Then there is another one, Hindustan Hackers Association, Indian Hackers Club, Indian Spy. But the most popular one is Indian Snakes. And basically what is being said about this is that it is being... Okay, I mean, most of them, the Indian hackers, there were very few sites which they defaced. Most of them just like, their primary weapon was to choke the bandwidth, and like using the DOS attacks. But that also caused huge damages. Okay, there are like, most people say that India and Pakistan have state-sponsored hacking. I don't want to say anything about India, but as far as Pakistan is concerned, and I have worked with C4I for some time, I would like to say that there is no state-sponsored hacking being done by Pakistan. So the people who think that Pakistan is doing state-sponsored hacking, they should change their minds. Okay, now moving towards Al-Qaeda, how Al-Qaeda is operating through cyber warfare. Now, what FBI hates more than Osama bin Laden? That is something what FBI hates more than Osama bin Laden. Okay. Okay, now, most of us think that Al-Qaeda is only hiding in caves in Afghanistan and stuff like that, but Al-Qaeda is basically a huge network. It is spread, and like people, like educated people are also part of it. Basically, a person I would like to mention here is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He was like, he had remained in water ministry from some time, and he has huge experience in scientific and information technology. Then there was another person caught, I guess 2 years back, who was doing PhD in cybersecurity. He had links with Al-Qaeda. Man, basically it shows that Al-Qaeda is developing skills in cyber warfare. Now, if Al-Qaeda is alive and still operating, then maybe next time you see them uh, throwing bytes instead of bombs. And I believe that they are developing the skill of cyber warfare. Now, what they can actually do is they can gather intelligence of critical infrastructures, and they are already using it for communication and cryptographic techniques. Like it's very hard that you can just like embed something in a picture and you can send it through email. Now, though Americans have managed to get those emails, but still, it's hard. Like Americans cannot track all of this. Um, then they are also using it for cyber propaganda. Like they spread emails, they have specific websites to fight for Islam and for the cause of Islam, which is basically extremism, and I'm not in support of that. Uh, then they're also using it for calling of jihad. They also have sites where you can basically pay to support the Al Qaeda to buy weapons and stuff like that. Okay, how Bin Laden is better than NSA in technology? Like they have been operating through communication for so much long time. There was a guy, Daniel Pearl, if most of you are familiar with it. He was a journalist and murdered in Pakistan. What actually happened was that the guy who murdered is one of the men of Al Qaeda, and he got captured. Now, what actually happened that after kidnapping him, they made a video and emailed it to the FBI in Pakistan. And they were like, okay, we have this demands, we want you to fulfill them. Otherwise, we are gonna kill this man. So what FBI people did, they actually tracked that email, that from where that email came, and this was sent from a free server from Hotmail. But they managed to track it to an old net cafe in Karachi. So they were like, okay, now what we can do? We have no idea. The person, the manager of the net cafe was like, tons of people come here. I have no idea who emailed this to you. So FBI people were all the time monitoring that. And at the time when the person who actually murdered him came to email the video, which actually contained the contents of murdering Daniel Pearl. When he was about to email that video, then they actually tracked him and caught that person. But I was talking about Bin Laden better than technology of NSA. Basically, what I have from my information, that he is using that satellite phone. He has a whole communication process. So if NSA cannot track him through his communication, then I feel sorry for the NSA. Capabilities and interests of Al Qaeda. Okay, big damage, less investment. This is, like the example I gave you before of EMP bombs and stuff like that. This can cause huge damages through less investment. And again, the element of being anonymous is there again. So this is something really useful for Al Qaeda, and Al Qaeda is, I suppose, working on it. They are using those cryptographic techniques. Basically, what they do is, like I told you before, they embed the messages on websites. Like they'll post a blog. It's just like a normal blog you see of a normal person, but it has images, and those images contain messages to their other members, and they are using this to for communication. Okay, cyber attacks on Al Qaeda by USA. A few hackers, they managed to track from where people send money through internet to Al Qaeda network, and from there they tracked some of the accounts of Bin Laden, and then the money from them was transferred to a few other accounts, and nothing was being done on that. Then they have also done some call interceptions, like the example, and one of the big example of the cyber attacks on Al Qaeda was that Daniel Pearl example. Okay, what makes cyber war as important as nuclear war for USA? Now, some of you must. If you just think for a while why states is dominating the world, it is because they are too much dependent 1,000 miles away from his post. Still, he has a lot of communication, he has a lot of gadgets, GPS and other stuff with him. He is too much dependent on technology. And even their missiles, everything is computer based. So their financial institutes, like United States is too much dependent on technology. What mistake basically have they made? They have laid their eggs in one nest. And it's really easy for someone to break those eggs. Okay. Future of Al-Qaeda cyber warfare. As I already mentioned before that though they mostly say, the Pakistani authorities are also saying that they have conducted huge operations near the Pakistan-Afghan border, and also in Afghanistan they have captured a lot of jihadi people, and they say that they have finished Al-Qaeda. But in countries like in European countries, they still have people who are operating with Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda is quiet for a while because it has suffered huge damages. So now they need a new strategy to cause huge damages, and that's what I believe their next weapon is going to be the cyber warfare. Okay, yes. Now, as far as I'll be speaking for states, what I would like to say is that they have done mostly their homework on offensive technology, not on defensive. So I believe they should, most of the countries which are going towards the cyber warfare technology, almost all of them are working on offensive. At least I have no idea about any of them who are working on defensive technology. Like I mentioned EMP bombs, like I tried to figure out ways, even searching on Google, how to stop these EMP bombs, but I couldn't find anything which could actually stop the rays or something like that, which is anti-HEREF. Like you are developing these things, but still you got to know that how you have to stop it if someone else is doing the same with you. Okay, how hacking basically affect the military operations? Okay, before fighting, let me give you an example of Department of Defense. Like every year, this network suffers the most attacks. Like people, basically what they do is they steal the sensitive data and they spread it all over the internet. So it's difficult to stop this thing. And even during fighting, a hacker group, they actually offered Saddam Hussein a war plan of I guess Iran. I think Iran was their opponent. I'm not sure. So they actually offered them the whole plan of the opponent country for about $2 million, I suppose. But Saddam Hussein was like, no, I don't believe this. This must be fake. So I'm not wasting my time on that. Okay, influencing foreign policy. Now through cyber propaganda, foreign policy can really be affected. Now I'll be discussing this issue further ahead, then it will give you more understanding, then I'll elaborate this point further ahead. Okay, this every person has different point of view. Like, can hacking cause real war? But before listening to my views, I would like to take opinion of the house. Can people please raise their hands who think that hacking can really cause real war? Like keeping in view the stuff I already told you before. Okay, none of the thing. Okay, I also don't think that hacking can cause real war. Because the defacements, DOS attacks, and even it's difficult to carry out those EMP things. Hardware-based weapons are too difficult to carry out by an individual. So I think as the deniability factor is there and a lot of other stuff is there, so hacking cannot cause a real war. Okay, this is something very interesting. Echelon Project 415. This is a global network of computers that automatically search through millions of intercepted messages for pre-programmed keywords or fax, telex, and email addresses. This is done throughout the world, and they have basically the Echelon dictionaries. They have specific words for which they are actually doing this job. And basically, this system is also called UK-USA system. Some of the agencies which are operating, which are helping USA to operate this project are National Security Agency, Government Communication Headquarters USA, Defense Signals Directorate Australia, Government Communication Security Bureau New Zealand, Communication Security Establishment Canada. Okay, now how cyber warfare has revolutionized military affairs at C4A. Now, huge psychological operations can be caused even as a cyber weapon of United States or England. Because, even just take the example of Iraq war. If people over there are seeing CNN and BBC, so they must be like demoralized that what is happening to their people. Then a lot of military deception is there, and operation security, computer network operations are being done, and of course electronic warfare. Okay, cyber terrorism and propaganda. What actually is being done on this issue? Now, these are some of the pictures of Abu Ghraib prison. This is basically one of the prison camp, main prison camp in Iraq. Now, how actually these photos were released and shown to the people, the world came to know that what is happening in Iraq. Now, these were released through internet. People over there took it from cell phones and stuff like that, even the people in the United States Army. So what they actually did, that suppose if you give it to a specific news agency, that news agency has to think 1,000 times that do they really have to publish this sort of thing, because intelligence agencies, they make things difficult for newspapers or stuff like that. So basically, internet gives you the freedom of speech that make this stuff happen, and it actually caused more damage to United States foreign policy as compared to the whole war of Iraq. So this is one of the major examples of cyber warfare. Okay, what actually is the future of cyber warfare? Now, as you can see, that the technology is too much dependent, the people are too much dependent on the technology, and also almost everything is now coming towards technology, and very much less is being done on the security. Like, I'm talking generally, I'm not talking to some specific organization. Even in case of military, I'll just give the example of Pakistan military, they don't take security as an issue. Even even my general observation is that many organizations, not just Pakistan, in whole world, they don't take security as an issue. So it's easy for terrorists and your opponents to disrupt your communication and to your basically investments and financial institutes. So something has to be done for the security. These are some of the references which I took. So of some, uh, okay. Any questions? Questions, please welcome. Sorry? Pardon me? Previous slide? Oh, okay. Any questions? No questions. Okay, thank you very much.